Hello and welcome to another Zero to Hero guide. Once again, this guide will be a little different, and instead of focusing down on a single civilization, we'll take a look at the Blacksmith, one of the most important buildings in the game. There are a lot of questions surrounding unit upgrades, and in this video I'll try and explain when best to upgrade your units, which upgrades to prioritise, and tell you which upgrades apply to units such as the War Wagon, Mameluke and Janissary. So, why are the Blacksmith upgrades so important? Well, they increase the strength of your units for very little cost, and can turn a battle completely around. It's so important to ensure that your units are well equipped for battle, and in doing so, you can be sure to come out in a better position than if you neglect to upgrade at all. Arguably, one of the most important set of upgrades in the game are the Fletching, Bodkin Arrow and Bracer upgrades, which will give +1 attack and +1 range to the units and buildings that they upgrade. These units serve a dual purpose, as not only will they massively increase the attack damage of your ranged units, but they will also help defending by giving your town centres, castles and towers more damage too. Not only this, but the range advantage that they give will also allow your units to do more damage to infantry and cavalry, as they can shoot much sooner with the range upgrades than if they didn't have it at all. You may see players making full cavalry or infantry who still upgrade Fletching, Bodkin Arrow and Bracer, as this helps town centres to deal with night raiding much more effectively as well. These upgrades also affect the galley warship line, and are a must-do tech if you're making galleys. If you're making archer units or skirmishers on land, then you should prioritise these upgrades over defence ones initially. You should get fletching once you have 3 to 4 archers or skirmishers on the field, but never stop villager production in favour of making an upgrade instead. If you don't have enough food to keep villagers coming out, then don't spend food on upgrades at all, even fletching, until you can afford it. Padded archer armour, leather archer armour and ring archer armour all upgrade ranged units' defense by adding +1 pierce and +1 melee armour to units. These upgrades should come secondary to the first set of upgrades that we looked at. However, in a situation where you're defending and being rushed, it might be possible that you will lose access to gold for a while. If this happens, then it's actually worthwhile getting the archer armour upgrade first, due to it requiring no gold. This will help you defend more effectively with skirmishers, though in a skirmisher versus skirmisher war, the padded archer armour upgrade actually has no effect at all. In this situation, you should definitely research fletching 100% of the time. Next, we have the cavalry archer upgrades: scale, chain and plate barding armour. Unlike archers, you should aim to upgrade your cavalry armour before you upgrade your cavalry attack. This is due to the use of cavalry in raiding, where extra armour is really crucial to keeping your cavalry more tanky under town centre fire. Knights have an initially high attack damage and can kill villagers very quickly, so their main concern is staying alive for as long as possible, and in doing so they'll get a lot of kills naturally. It's also more worthwhile to upgrade armour with knights first, due to players with archers and crossbow prioritising fletching and bodkin arrow. This means that they will be doing extra damage to you from a further distance whenever you attempt to engage a group of ranged units. Civilizations with bloodlines will also research this at a very early stage in order to add an extra 20 HP to their knights, which again helps to accomplish all that we mentioned previously. Bloodlines though is more expensive than scale barding armour, and it is cheaper than chain barding armour, so attempt to research bloodlines between these two upgrades if you're going for a straight night rush. The cavalry attack upgrades and the infantry attack upgrades are all the same. These are forging, iron casting and blast furnace. Once again, these upgrades should be researched secondary to the armour upgrades in both situations. There are a few small exceptions to this though. If you're defending and making pikemen, then it's best to get forging for +1 attack before getting the +2 defense upgrade. Not only is forging cheaper than the chain armour, but it also allows your pikes to do more damage to knights before they die. Infantry defense upgrades are actually really similar to cavalry. The scale, chain and plate mail armour upgrades should really be prioritised before the attack upgrades in nearly every situation. It's more unusual to see infantry get heavy use before the Imperial Age anyway, in many games due to their slow movement and weakness to archers. If you find yourself making a lot of infantry though, you should definitely research squires from the barracks for a 10% movement speed increase. Many players really underestimate just how much of a difference this upgrade can make. So, that about covers all of the actual upgrades at the Blacksmith, but what about the units that actually get upgraded? There are a few strange ones, and you need to know which upgrades apply to which units. Firstly, the Mameluke and the Throwing Axeman. It's important to remember that these units actually do melee damage even though they're a ranged unit. Upgrading fletching will have no effect on these units' attack or range. You should upgrade forging instead. The Mameluke is also classed as cavalry for defense upgrades, and the Throwing Axeman is classed as infantry for the defense upgrades. Second, cavalry archers are affected by fletching for their attack upgrades, but less obviously, they're affected by archer armor for their defense upgrades, not cavalry armor, even though they're technically as well a cavalry unit. The War Wagon is classed as a cavalry archer, as is the Elephant Archer if you play the Forgotten. So these two units will also use the fletching upgrades and the archer armor upgrades. The Conquistador is a funny one though, as it's affected by the archer armor upgrades, but not the archer attack upgrades. Now Gunpowder units are a little bit different, because you can't actually upgrade their attack at their Blacksmith, it's actually a fixed attack value, but you can however upgrade their defense. So that finally brings us to the Janissaries and Hand Cannoneers, which are again upgradable by archer armor upgrades, but not fletching, bodkin arrow or bracer. Hopefully I covered everything there. As usual guys though, thanks a lot for watching. This has been your Zero to Hero Blacksmith tutorial, and I will see you next time.